Hi and welcome to this on Maths prediction for the Paper 1 Foundation Maths GCSE Edexcel. Enjoy! Hi and welcome to this prediction. So whenever I do these predictions, in the comments people always say that I waffle on too much at the start, so I'll keep this brief. Please feel free to go to onmaths.com where you can do this entire paper online for free. You can sign up for free if you choose to, and it will save your scores. On the website there are loads and loads of other resources like the Revisionator, which is quick questions to get you practicing, all with videos that show you how to do it. There's Topic Busters, which just go through all of the topics, so if you're a bit weak on simultaneous equations you can go and search for that. And there's Demon Questions, which are for the people looking for the top grades, either grade 5 on the foundation or a grade 9 on the higher, and they're kind of the AO3, the problem solving types of question. So we've got loads going on the site. There's also a few more things we're looking to add very, very shortly to help you with your revision. So just go to onmaths.com and check it out. Also, if you're watching this video and it's quite close to the exam, we do set up a sister site at onmaths.co.uk where you can also do this, the papers online. You can't log into it, it's quite bare bone, but we host it at a different server because normally we're getting tens of thousands of hits all at one time for the day before the exam. So feel free to go to that site instead if the servers are not happy. And we spend a lot of money on servers, but it's never enough when you get so much traffic at the same time. So please feel free to use that. Also, if you enjoy this video, please click like and subscribe. As soon as the paper 1 comes out, and you sit the paper 1 at the end of May or mid-May, then we'll be working on the paper 2 prediction. So please click subscribe, and as soon as our videos come up, which hopefully is very, very quick, maybe 1 or 2 days, for some of the exam boards, you'll get notified. So I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you very much. Okay, in this question we're asked to do 2 cubed, and whenever you cube a number you times it by itself 3 times, so that'll be 2 times 2 times 2. So whatever the power is, which is this number up here, you times the base, which is the big number, by itself that many times. Now some people still think the answer is 6 to this, so let's just work it through. So 2 times 2 is 4, so it becomes 4 times 2, and 4 times 2 is 8, so the answer is 8. So to convert a percentage into a fraction, you just need to remember that percent means per 100, so that percentage sign there just means per 100, so it's 30 per 100, or 30 over 100. Then we need to simplify that, so we're going to divide top and bottom by 10, and we get 3 over 10. So the simplest version is 3 over 10. Now for this next question, we need to convert these all into the same thing. By far the easiest thing to convert them all into is percentages, so we don't need to do anything with C. For A, all you need to do is times it by 100. Any decimal, you just times by 100, it makes it a percentage. So that's 49%. Now with this one, we make it so that the bottom is 100. So what I'm going to do is times top and bottom by 20. And then as I said in the question A, percent just means per 100. So that's just 20%. And the last one is just 71%, it's already in percentage. Now you can clearly see here that the 20% is the smallest, 71% is the largest. However, we need to work out which way around it wants it. Where it says ascending order, ascending means going from smallest to biggest. A plane ascends when it takes off, and then descends when it starts coming down to land. So it's really important that you write in the numbers in the question rather than the ones that we wrote. So we're going to start with the smallest, which is 20%, which was 1/5, so don't write 20%. Then 49%, which is 0.49, and then finally 71%. So for the first question, when you're adding letters together, the answer will be a number and then that letter. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be 5b. The most common wrong answer is b to the power of 5. Now that's wrong because that only happens when you times them together, when you multiply them together. So it's going to be 5b for the first one. Next one is 10 lots of f, and we're taking away 3 lots of the f. Well, how many f have we got left over? Well, 10 lots of it and take away 3 lots of it means we've got 7 lots of it left. When you're simplifying one like this, in algebra we just don't use the times sign, so this is quite a nice easy question, 10ab. Now the last one is like terms, so we've got 5x here, and we're adding 5x. And we've got a 3y here, and we're taking away a y. So when you add the 5x to the 5x, you get 10x. And when you've got 3y and you're taking away y, which is short for 1y, so we've got 3 y's, taking away 1y, we're left with 2y. Now you can't simplify that any further because they are not like terms. You can times them, but you can't add or subtract them. Okay, so this question gives us a set of instructions to create a sequence, and it asks us to write the first 3 terms in the sequence. Now it says it starts at 20, so that's nice and easy, and it says the term-to-term rule is add 5. So we're going to add 5 to get the next one, and we're going to add 5 to get the last one. So each time we're adding 5. And that's it. When you're rounding numbers to significant figures, first of all write out the number. And with significant figures, you want to draw a line after the second number. So the 6 is the first number, the 3 is the second number. Now, unlike decimal places, you're not looking at counting from the decimal point. You're counting from the start of the number, and we'll have a look at an exception to that on question B. Then we look at this number. Now, this number and the 2 are doomed. They're gone. But they're not quite done yet. That blue one has to make a decision. If that number is a 5 or more, that 3 will go up by 1. If it's less than 5, that 3 will stay the same. Now because it's less than 5, that 3 will stay the same. But have a think about it. If 6,312 people visited or were at a football match and someone said, "Oh, can you tell me roughly how many that was?" If you said 63, that doesn't make any kind of sense. So the mistake that I've made, and the mistake most people make with this question, is they forget that the 1 and the 2 don't disappear. They turn to 0. So the answer is 6,300. Now on question B, this is an exception that we've got to remember with significant figures. You don't start counting until you hit a number that's not a 0. So the first number is 5 and the second one is 2. So the line will go here. Then let's have a look at our decider number where it's 1 again, so it's less than 5. So we're going to have 0.052. Now I could put 0, 0 in here, but this time the numbers aren't actually affecting anything. Whilst before, the 2 zeros there were holding that 6 to 6,000 and the 3 to 300, so they were really important. The zeros here aren't actually changing the number at all, so we don't need to have them. So the answer is 0.052. Okay, so a few things we need to realise with this question. First of all, what does product mean? Product just means times. It means if you times them together, that's the answer, right? And we're looking for more than 2. We'll come back to that later. So first of all, we're going to do a sample space diagram for this. So we've got the numbers from spinner 2 up here, and the numbers from spinner 1 here. But instead of like writing down the combinations, we're just going to write down the answers to the product. So we're going to do 1 times 0, 0. In fact, anything times 0 is 0. Then we're going to do 1 times 1, 1 times 2, 1 times 3, 1 times 4. 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3, 2 times 4. and 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, and 3 times 4. So these are all our possible answers when we spin these two spinners. And what I'm going to do is try and show all the ones that are more than 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 of them are more than 2. So 9 will be on the top of my fraction when I show the probability. And what we need to do is put that over the total amount, including the 9 we circled. So there are in total, and we can count them, or I notice it's a 4 by 4 grid, so it's going to be 16. I can't cancel that. Now be careful, really common mistake is these two. Because it says more than 2, those don't count. So it has to be 3, 4, 5 onwards. Really other common mistake is this bottom number here. A lot of students would put that as, was it 5, is it? No, 7. They put it as 7 because it's all the remaining numbers. No, that bottom number is always the total amount of numbers. Okay, so there's many ways of solving. My way is to add the lines, which I do across the site. So just draw 2 lines down. Now we need to get x on its own, so the thing next to the x is a times 2. And to get x on its own, we need to do the opposite of times 2. So we're going to divide 2 both sides. I'm showing the examiner that I'm doing it both sides. So we're left with x on this side, which is great. It's what we wanted, because solve means to find out what x is. And 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So x equals 2 for that first one. For the next one, we've got y minus 4 equals 4. We're going to get our lines down. Okay, so the bit we want to get rid of is this minus 4 bit. So we're going to do the opposite of that, which is add 4 both sides. So y is 4 plus 4, which is 8. Okay. So that was a 2 for a second, but it's a z. Right. So this one's slightly harder. Only if we don't know what over means. Now, over, which is this bit here, so over 3, means divide by 3. So the opposite of divide by 3 is times 3. So we have times 3 both sides. So z equals 4 times 3, which is 12. Alright, so the first place to start on this is to plot the points. So point A is at minus 3, minus 2. So along the corridor and up the stairs, where we're going across minus 3 on the x-axis, which is this one here. And then we're going to go down 2 on the y-axis. So it's this one here. A really common mistake is to muddle them up. So as long as you remember you're going across and then up or down, obviously if it's negative you go down, then you should be fine. Now it says point A, so I probably should label that as A. And point B is 0, 3. It means we're not going left or right at all. We're just going to stay at 0, but we could go up 3. So it's going to be there. And point C is at 3 minus 2. So along 3, down 2. It's going to be that one there. So that's point C. And it says plot and join these coordinates. So I'm just going to get my ruler and plot and join them. Well, we've plotted them, so we're just going to join them. And there we go, makes a nice little shape there. Now, question B says, what type of triangle is ABC? So, looking at it, it looks like this length here and this length here are exactly the same length. So, when we've got a triangle with 2 sides the same length, it's an isosceles triangle. And try and learn the spelling of isosceles, because it does look better when you spell it right. I remember it's ISOS CELES. The SOS is like a Morse code thing to get help, save our souls. So I've always remembered SOS, as in, oh my goodness, I don't know how to spell isosceles. Okay, so this question's about an adult and 2 children. So we've got David Smith and 2 children. So there's 1 adult and 2 children. But the prices shown are not quite right because there's a discount and there's a 5th off adult price and 30% off the child price. So let's work out the adult price first. So a 5th off, well first of all let's work out a 5th of £70. So to work out a 5th you can just divide 70 by 5. Now I know that 10 fives are 50 and 4 fives are 20, so that's going to be 14. So that's going to be £14 he gets off, so therefore the price will be the £70 take away the £14. So 70 take away 10 is 60, take away 4 is 56. So he's going to pay £56 himself. Let's do the child price. Okay, so it's 30% off the child price. So we want to do 30% of £37. Okay, let's do the equals down here to give us some room. Well, I know that 10% is going to be £3.70, and then I need to times that by 3. Okay, so I could just times it by 3. Let's have a think. I could do 370. I could do it in pence, and then just times that by 3. So 370, and then I can just do times 3. So I can do a little grid. And if this is on the calculator, then obviously you just type it into the calculator. And obviously that's going to be 0, so we don't need that one. So it's 900. That's 21 with a 0. So 900 plus 21, 210 even. 0, 1, and then 11. So that's going to be £11.10. And so we want to work out the price. So it's going to be £37, take away £11.10. So if you take away 10 it's 27, take away 1 is 26, take away 10 is £25.90. Now that's for one child, so that's one child. So if I want 2 children, I want to do £25.90 times 2. Now I know 25 times 2 is 50, 90 times 2 is £1.80, so that's going to be £51.80. Okay, I'll move down a bit and let's do the total. So the total is going to be the adult price, which is this one here, plus the 2 children price, which is that one there. So I want to do 56 plus £51.80. And again, if you've got a calculator, you can just type it in, but let's do the column method. £1.80, and then people like putting the zeros in. So that's going to be 0, 8, 7, 10. So that's going to be £107.80. So it's £107.80. Finished. Okay, so we have water and we have orange squash, and we need 3 parts water to 2 parts orange squash. It seems quite rich drink to me, but anyway. And it says find out how much water is needed to dilute 80 centilitres of orange squash. So the first thing you need to think about is how do you get from 2 to 80? Well, I could do 80 divided by 2, but I think we just know it's times 40. So whatever you do to that side, you have to do to this side. So we're going to have to times that by 40 as well. So we're going to do 3 times 40. I know 3 times 4 is 12, so therefore that's going to be 120. So it's going to need 120 centilitres of water to dilute the 80 centilitres of orange juice. Okay, so with this question there are quite a few steps we've got to go through. So it gives us some information about the parallelogram, that the area is 3 times the area of the triangle. So it looks like the place to start is the area of the triangle. So we're going to start off with the area of the triangle, and it's really important for these types of questions to be really clear to the examiner what you're trying to work out. So the area is half times the base times the height. So it's half times 8. I was going to write 6 there, but let's keep it in the same order. Let's tidy up that 8 a little bit. Okay, so half of 8 is 4, times 6 is 24, or we could do 8 times 6, which is 48, and then half of that. Either way, you get 24. Okay, so we know that the area of this is 24 centimeters squared. And we know that the parallelogram is 3 times the area of the triangle. So the area of parallelogram equals 24, which is the area of the triangle, times by 3. Now I know 25 times 3 is 75, so I'll take away 3 from that, it's 72. So equals 72 centimeters squared. Now, I know that the height of it is 12, and I know to work out the area of a parallelogram, it is just base times height. And I know that the height is 12, and I know the area of it is 72. So I just need to solve this. Quite an easy one to solve, because I'm just going to divide by 12. So the base is going to be 72 divided by 12, which is 6. So it's going to be 6 centimeters. Now we can work that out and just work backwards. So if this x here is 6, 6 times 12 is 72. Then I could do 72 divided by 3, which is 24. And 24 is the area of the triangle. So you kind of know you've got the right answer because you can work backwards with it. So we're asking this question to do a composite bar chart. Now a composite bar chart just means that it's like a comparative bar chart where the bars are next to each other, but on a composite bar chart they're just all in one bar. So we're going to have multiple pieces of data. So if we have a look at the table, we've got males and females. So we need a way of telling them apart, and the way of doing that is just to add a key. So my key is going to be blank for males and shaded in for females. And it's really important that you add a key to this so people can tell your bars apart. Okay, so we're going to start off by working out what the scale is. It seems to be going up in 2s. And you don't need to write on what the scale is for each individual mark, but I'm doing it to make it easier to show. So the first one, the males goes up to 12. So let's try and line this up. So they go up to 12 in 1983. And the females go up 2. So I'm going to add another 2 on, which is 1 square. And then I'm going to shade that 1 extra 1 in. And it's that simple. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to cross those out because I've done those. And I'm going to do that for 1984. So we're going to go up to 8 for the males. And then we're going to go up another 4, which is 2 squares for the females. Cross those out now. And finally, we could go up to 4 for the males. And we could go up 12. So that would be 6 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we can check this a little bit by adding these together. That should go up to 14, 12 plus 2, which it does. That should go up to 12, which it does. And this should go up to 16 by adding 4 and 12 together, which it does on our table. So we need to make sure that we have the key, and we need to make sure that a composite bar chart, there's one on top of the other. So we're told 1 kilogram of cheese costs £7.70. How much would 600 grams cost? Well, first of all, I'm going to have weight, mass, and price.
And I'm just going to sort of split them down the middle. So the weight, well, 1 kilogram is not going to help us because this one's in grams. So I'm going to convert that to grams. So it's 1,000 grams. And I'm going to convert this into pence. So 770 pence. Okay, so I need to get to 600 grams. And so first of all, if I've got a calculator, I can do this a lot easier. But without a calculator, let's try. Well, I can first of all divide this by 10 to get it so that it's 100. So that's 100 grams. And that would be 77. And then what I can do is I can times these by 6 to get 600. Okay, so if you've got a calculator, you can just type it in, but let's assume that you don't for this question. So we've got 77 times 6. 6 times 7 is 42. Add a 0. 6 times 7 is 42. Add them together. Probably don't need to do this, but anyway, I'll do it anyway. 264. So it's 462 pence, but in pounds it would be £4.62. Last thing, just check it makes sense. Well, we've got just over half, so therefore the price is just over half. So it looks good to me.
Okay, so in this question, James and Anna share £20 in the ratio of 3 to 2. So James gets 3 for every £2 that Anna gets. So if you think about this as piles of money, James gets 3 of these piles of money and Anna gets 2 of the piles of money. So how many piles are there in total? Well, what we do is we do £20 divided by the amount of piles that we want. We want 5 piles. So that's 4. So each pile is going to have £4 in it. Now if James has 3 piles, he's going to have, so James has 3 piles, so he's going to have 3 lots of £4, which is £12. Anna is going to have 2 of those piles, so 2 lots of the £4, so she's going to have £8. So James has 12 and Anna has 8. We can check that. First of all, James has more than Anna. Well, James has £12, Anna has 8. Secondly, there's £20 in total, so 12 plus 8 is 20. So chances are, with these simple checks, we know we've probably got the right answer. So the biggest thing with this question really is to understand what's going on. Basically, there's 2 buses, the 157 and 183. 157's being released every 15 minutes, and the 183 every 10 minutes. And we need to find what time they're both being released. So this is a lowest common multiple question. So we're going to have the 15 times table and the 10 times table, and we're going to find out at what point they have the same numbers. So if I just write out a few of the 15 times table and a few of the 10 times table, you can clearly see that it's going to be 30 is the lowest common multiple. Now it says that the buses start at 9 o'clock. So 30 minutes after that will be 9:30. When you're asked to describe the relationship between 2 things on a scatter graph, the sentence you need to write is, as this one increases, this one either increases or decreases. So as time of day increases, test marks, and because they're going up, it's a positive correlation, test marks increase. So there's a difference between describing the type of correlation or writing the type of correlation and describing the relationship. When you're describing the relationship, it's just as the one at the bottom increases, the one up the side either increases or decreases. So it says, using the scatter graph, the examination centre then concluded that time of day leads to positive effect on test scores. Are they correct to make this conclusion? Basically, this is a question about the fact that just because 2 things correlate does not mean that one causes the other. So a sentence like, there may be other factors such as, I don't know, what else? Tiredness, fatigue, tiredness. So try and make sure you give an example as well to support your argument.
Question A seems like a really complicated question, but it really isn't. If you think about what you know about a rectangle, you know that opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. So if you just write down x plus 1 is the same as 12, and then solve it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take away 1 both sides. Then x equals 11. So we know that x is 11. Let's check that out. It says here x minus 1. Well, what is 11 take away 1? Well, it's 10. And that is the same as that. So we know that x equals 11. And that's it. Question B. Have a think about what you know. You know that all angles in a triangle add up to 180. So we know that if we add y, 2y, and 3y together, it's going to equal 180 degrees. So again, let's just get our lines down so that we can solve it. So 1y plus 2y plus 3y, well, that gives us 6y in total. And then what we need to do is get rid of that times 6 there by dividing 6 both sides. So y equals 180 divided by 6. Well, I know 18 divided by 6 is 3, so I know that's going to be 30.
Whenever you're multiplying, subtracting or dividing with fractions, you must always convert them into improper fractions if they're mixed numbers. So here we've got two mixed numbers. We've got 6.5 and we've got 4 1/3. So we need to convert these into what we call improper fractions, top-heavy fractions. And we do that by timesing the big number by the bottom number, then adding it to the top. And we do that for both of these. So I'm going to do 6 times 2, which is 12, plus the 1 at the top, which is 13. And it's going to be over 2. Then I'm going to do 4 times 3, which is 12, add to the top, which is going to be also 13, this time over 3. Now, when the denominators are different, when we add or subtract, we've got to get the denominators the same. So I look at this fraction here, and what am I going to times top and bottom by to get it the same as this one? We're looking at the bottoms. We've got 2 and a 3, so we've got to find the first number in the 2 and the 3 times table, which is going to be 6. So we're going to times top and bottom here by 3 to get that 2 to a 6. We're going to times top and bottom here by 2 to get that bottom to a 6. So 13 times 3 is going to be 39 over 6. And 13 times 2 is going to be 26. And then 3 times 2 is 6. Now we just simply subtract the tops, which is going to be 13, and then put it over the same denominator as we've had in the two fractions there, so it's going to be over 6. So we need to make it a mixed number in its simplest form. So we ask ourselves, how many sixes can I take away from 13? Well, I can take away 2 whole ones. How many remainders do I have left? Well, 6 times 2 is 12, so it's going to be 1 remainder, and the bottom of the fraction stays the same. So it's going to be 2 and 1/6. For this second question, we need to convert these into top-heavy fractions or improper fractions, like we did before. So 5 times the 4 is 20, add to the top 21 over 4. And 3 times 3 is 9, add to the top is 10, keep the bottom the same. Now here we have this 3-letter acronym, which for some reason all the students remember. It's KFC. I have no idea why people remember that. So what KFC stands for is keep, flip, change. Some students remember it as KCF or same, change, flip. Whatever works for you, stick with it. So we've got 21 over 4. Keep that the same. Change the divide sign to a times, because you can't really divide with fractions, so we change it to a times. But to do that, we need to flip the second one. So it becomes 3 over 10. Now, what we're going to do now is we just simply times the tops and times the bottoms. And that's all we've got to do. So it's going to be 63 over 40. So again, we want to leave it as a mixed number. So how many 40s can I take away from 63? Well, 1. And when I do that, I'm left with 23 over 40. Now 23 is a prime number, so unless 23 goes into 40, which it doesn't, that is our simplest form. Okay, so for this question, the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to convert these into easier numbers to deal with. So I'm going to times this left hand one by 10 and times this right hand one by 10. So we actually end up with whole numbers, which are much easier to multiply. I've just got to remember to turn them back at the end to deal with that at the end. So there's multiple ways you can multiply these together. You can use the grid or column or whatever method you feel comfortable using. So let's put these in a column. But again, there's no additional marks if you do one way or the other. Okay, so 5 times 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Add the 1 is 6. 5 times 7 is 35. So it'll be 35. Now the next thing we're doing is 40 times 3. So what we're going to do is just add a 0 here, and then we can just think of it as a 4. So 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4. Add the 1 is 5. And 4 times 7 is 28. Then we're going to add going downwards, so 5, 6 times 2 is 8, 5 times 5 is 10, so it would be 8 plus 3, which is 11, plus the 1 is 12, and then 2 plus the 1 we carried, which is 3. So this is going to equal 32,085, but the problem is we times two numbers by 10, so we need to undo that. And we do that, undo it by dividing it by 10 and then dividing it by 10 again. So in total we've divided it by 100. So it's going to be 32 with a 0 and then 0.85. So the answer is 320.85. And normally you can just check to see roughly whether that's right. So 71 is roughly 70, 4.5 is, I don't know, roughly 5. So 7 times 5 is 35, so 70 times 5 is 350. Well, 320.85 is not far off 350, so we know we've probably got it right.
Okay, so we're asked to write 88 as a product of its prime factors. So the first thing to do is write 88, and then we have two shoots coming from it. Now I need to find out which two numbers times together to make 88. Now a little tip, if you've got an even number, always pick 2. So 2 times 44. Now whenever we get to a prime number, we always circle it, because that's finished. So 44, we can get another 2 out of that, we'll divide another 2 out of that, so 2 and 22, 2 and 11. Now 11 is also a prime number, and when you're left with just prime numbers, then you write your answer out like this. Now if you're also asked to write it in index form, that means instead of 2 times 2 times 2, you're going to write 2 to the power of 3 times 11. Now don't work that out, because that will give you 88, so 2 cubed times 11 is 88.
Okay, so this is quite a complicated question because there's two ratios and they're talking about slightly different things. We're also given an amount of one of the sides of the ratio, or one of the sides of one of the ratios, and we're asked for the amount of the first side of the ratio. So it's all a little bit complicated, but the way I'd like to start these things off is by just writing down what I know from the question. So we've got football, rugby, and we've got tennis. So football to rugby is 4-3, and rugby to tennis is 6-13. So these two ratios here are kind of incompatible at the moment. Got this one here, which is linking the football and the rugby, and we've got this one here, which is linking the rugby and the tennis. What I'd like to be able to do is kind of like put the two together and make just one ratio. So if you notice from the one I've put around a blue square or blue rectangle round, we've got the rugby as 3 parts of that, but in the green one the rugby is 6 parts of that. So what if I times both of these by 2? If I times both of them by 2, I get 8 to 6, and that actually matches the other ratio. So what I can then do, because it's the same parts of rugby, I can then say that it's 13 parts tennis. Okay, so all I'm interested in here is matching these two up to make these both the same. So I times the one in blue by 2 and it made it exactly the same. Now it says that 39 students picked tennis, so I need to find some way of getting the tennis to be 39. Well, that's going to be just simply timesing it by 3. And if I times that one by 3, I've got to times this one by 3, and I've got to times this one by 3. So 6 times 3 will be 18, and 8 times 3 will be 24. So we've already answered the question, because if there's 39 tennis, there's going to be 24 football. This is not the easiest question, or ratio question out there, but if you just try and link the two ratios together, then it will start to make sense and it will start to become a lot easier. Okay, so here we've got a lot of parallel lines, we've got an isosceles triangle going on, and sometimes with these questions there's a lot going on and you just need to kind of strip it back and think, right, what part of this question do I need? Now my answer to this question is definitely not going to be the only one. There are multiple ways of doing this question. I'm going to show you what I think is the easiest, but you might disagree, which is absolutely fine. So if we have a look at these lines here, then you can see that they are angles in parallel lines. We're looking at the two red ones going diagonally. We're ignoring the bottom parallel line because we're not using the top one for this. And these two angles here, the 62 degrees and this one, are corresponding because they make F angles. And the way I remember it is corresponding. The reason why I've highlighted what it's called is, although on the website and on Maths, you're not asked to write down the reason for it, in the exam you will have to write down the reason for why this is 62 degrees. And the reason is because they're corresponding, and I remember it as corresponding. I remember the Z angles as alternate. I just bung a Z in there. That's just the way I remember it. And the other one is interior, co-interior, allied, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so you need to write down the fact that CDE, so angle CDE equals 62 degrees because corresponding. Okay. Right, now angle DCE, this one here, will also be 62 degrees. So angle DCE will also be 62 degrees. Okay, and this time it's because it's the bottom two angles in an isosceles triangle are always equal. Now by bottom I always imagine isosceles being like this. Okay, so it's always the bottom two. Clearly that isosceles is not like that, but in my head an isosceles is always this way up with the two equal lengths left and right. So it's the bottom two are always equal. So that's going to be 62 as well. So to work out angle angle DEC, that's what it says in the question. So angle DEC, is going to be 180 take away 62 times 2. And the reason for that is angles in triangle add up to 180 degrees. And never feel like you're writing too much for the reasons. There are some key words in the marker schemes that are in bold that the marker's going to be looking for. So corresponding being one of them and isosceles being the other. And angles in triangle. Don't draw a triangle, just write the word triangle. I'm trying to save time, although having discussed it, I've probably not saved much time. Okay, so that's going to be 62 times 2. Well, 60 times 2 is 120, so it'll be 124. And then when you take that away from 124, you're going to get 56. Okay, so the angle is going to be 56 degrees.
Okay, first thing to realise with this question is how you calculate the mean. The mean is the sum of all the values over the amount of the values. Now this actually creates a triangle, just like speed, distance, time triangle. Works in the same way. So we have mean here, we have the sum at the top, and the amount at the bottom. So we normally do the sum divided by the amount, but actually with this question we need to go the other way. And we need to work out the sum or the amount or whatever. Let's have a look. So it says there's 12 boys and 8 girls. So in total there's 20 children. So that's the first thing we need to realise. It says the mean number of coins for the children is 15 and the mean number of coins for the boys is 13. And we've got to work out the mean number of coins for the girls. So we know how many girls there are, which is 8, but we don't know the total amount of coins for the girls. For the boys. Okay, so where do we start? Well, it would be helpful to work out how much coins there are in total. So if I look at the triangle there, we know, so let's write down total children. And try and show my working out as I go. We know that the mean of all the children is 15. So in my triangle, I've got 15 for the mean. We know that there are 20 children in total. And we can work out the sum by timesing those together. So we're going to do 15 times 20. So there's 300 coins altogether. Okay, so now next we're going to work out, well, we're given the boys, so let's work out how many the boys have. So same triangle. We know the mean for the boys is 13, and we know that there are 12 boys. So we'll do 13 times 12, which is 156. So to work out how many girls there are, or to work out the sum of the girls, we're going to do the sum of all the children, which is 300, take away the sum of the boys, which is 156. So we'll do 300 take away 156, which is 144. So we know what the girls add up to, because if the boys add up to 156 and the total children adds up to 300, then the girls must add up to 144. But we're asked for the mean for the girls. So to work out the mean, we just go back to our standard formula we had at the start, which is this one. To work out the mean, it's the sum, which we worked out as 144, over the total, and it says there's 8 girls. So we do 144 divided by 8, which equals 18. So our answer is 18. Okay, there's more than one way to expand and simplify a single bracket. You're essentially doing the same thing, but some of you might want to draw grids or do it in a different way. I always just use smiles and rainbows, so I just create a smile between the 2 and the 3x, and a rainbow between the 2 and the 6, and I put a little time sign there to remind me to times it. Just put a notch through the bracket. That means we're going to times 2 and 3x, and 2 times 3 is 6. And then we've got the x there, and 2 times 6 we're going to times together to make 12. Now we've still got the 4x, so I still need to write that down. Then I'm going to collect like terms. Now the like terms we have is the 6x and the plus 4x. So 6x plus 4x is 10x, and then there's nothing that we can do with the 12, so we just leave that. So it's 10x plus 12. Okay, the next one, there's a double smiles and rainbows. We've got one here, bit old time sign there, and we've got one here. So we'll do the first one first. So 8 times 6x, so we do 8 times 6, which is 48, and then we've got the x. Then we do 8 times positive 2, which is 16, so plus 16. Now that's nice and easy. However, the next one's slightly different. The number outside the brackets is not a 3, it's a minus 3. So when we do minus 3 times positive 4x, we're going to get a negative, because a minus times a positive is a negative. Then we do 3 times 4, which is 12, and then we've got the x as well. Now the rainbow is minus 3 times minus 5. Two minuses times together is a plus. 3 times 5 is 15. Then we look for like terms, so we've got the 48x and the minus 12x, and we've got the plus 16 and the plus 15. So we want to do 48 take away 12, or 48x take away 12x. So if we take away 2, it's 6. If we take away 10, it's 36x. Then we want to do 16 plus 15. Well, 15 plus 15 is 30, so that's going to be 31. So the answer is going to be 36x plus 31. Now the most common mistakes are for that n bit there, this bit here. Sometimes students will write down negative 15. Okay, so in this question, you might think that to get the answer to this, you do 40 divided by 5 to get 8, so you divide that by 5 and you get one machine. The problem is that doesn't make any sense. If 5 machines take 40 minutes, that's almost an hour to make one toy, then what, one machine's going to do it in 8 minutes? It just doesn't make sense. And a question like this that doesn't make sense, if one increases, the other increases, is an inverse proportion question. Now there's an advanced way of doing it where you work out the formula and you do it that way. I'm going to show you a slightly different way that's maybe easier for some people. So if you think about the machines, which is one variable, and the time, which is the other, and we've got 5 machines and it takes 40 minutes, then if we times those together, we get something which I'm going to name machine time. Okay, I've just made that up. So 5 times 40 is 200. Now that 200 there is really special, because that 200 must always be the same. The machine time must always be the same. So it says we want to do it in 8 minutes. So I've got to think, right, what times 8 is 200, because machine time will always be the same. So I get my calculator and I'm going to do 200 divided by 8, and it's 25. So let's check that. 25 times 8 is 200, so it works. Now that is the answer, that we would take 25 machines. Let's just check if it makes sense. So 5 machines take ages, they take 40 minutes to make a toy, yet 25 machines take only 8 minutes to make a toy, so that makes sense. You'll notice that we've divided that by 5, but we've times this one by 5, and that's the way inverse proportion works. As you divide one of them, you times the other.
Okay, so we've got quite a lot going on with this question. We've got 3 planks of wood attached by glues and nails, or glue and nails, so we don't need to worry about the joins. But we're looking at the 3 planks of wood. Now, we've got 2 of the lengths. One is 6 meters and the other's 8 meters. But we need to find, obviously, the third length here to be able to continue with this question. So, given the fact it's a right angle triangle, and we know 2 of the length, and we're finding a third length, it's going to be Pythagoras. And Pythagoras says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now c is the one that has to be the hypotenuse, and to find the hypotenuse we just go opposite the right angle. So we're finding c. A and b don't matter which way round we do it, so I'm going to do 6 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. And I can put my lines down as I normally do. So I always put the lines down that equals. I've just missed that one. So 6 squared is 36. 8 squared is 64, which equals c squared. 36 plus 64 is 100, equals c squared. What I'm going to do is just square root both sides. So c will equal 10. Now, when you square root, you get a negative as well, but since it's a length, it can't be negative, so it's just going to be 10. So c is 10, so we know that that's going to be 10 meters. And it says it takes 90 millilitres of paint per metre of wood to cover it. So what we're going to have to do is work out how much wood we have. So I'm going to say to the examiner wood length or something. Always try and describe to the examiner what you're doing. So we're going to do 6 plus 8 plus 10. So 6 plus 8 is 14, plus 10 is 24. Okay. And then to work out the amount of paint required, so paint required, I need to do 24, because we've got 24 meters of paint, times 90, because it's 90 milliliters per meter. So we can do this with the grid or column method. Doesn't really matter which one. I'll do the column, why not? So 0 for the first one, and then we're going to do 90 times 4, so we need to add a 0. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 2 is 18, plus the 3 is 21. And what we could have done is 9 times 24 and just added a 0 onto the end of it. There's loads of different ways of doing these things. So it would be 2,160 millilitres. If you ask this in litres it would be 2.160 litres, because there's 1,000 millilitres in a litre. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. Please go to onmaths.com and have a look at what we've got. Try this paper out on there, and I'm sure there's a link that comes up there. Also, if you disagree with anything that I've said in the video, or you've got different alternative methods, please feel free to comment below. I will be keeping an eye on the comments, and no one is perfect, so I will be putting any revisions in the description below. Hopefully there's none this year, but there's always a few that slip past the net. If you've enjoyed this video, please click like, and also please click subscribe to keep up to date with our future content. Thank you very much.